South Point is also proud to provide a variety of relaxing amenities for the guests who want to be pampered. Soak up the sun and let your stress melt away in our lagoon-style paradise swimming pool. A relaxing getaway where you can bask in the desert sun and enjoy seasonal food and bar service poolside. And if you really want to escape, come to Spa Costa del Sur. From couple suites to a co-ed wet area, our spa caters to business and leisure travelers who want to unwind and elevate their senses. A visit to one of our spa's steam, sauna, or whirlpool treatment rooms will leave any guest feeling like they can take on the world. Our gaming amenities include over 60 table games and over 2,600 of the most popular slot and video poker machines. We have penny slots, including the popular Buffalo games, and real machines like Wheel of Fortune, Triple Sevens, and Megabucks. If you prefer video poker, try Deuces Wild, Double Double Bonus, or a variety of multi-denomination games. Or try your hand at one of the most popular casino table games in the world, Blackjack. Don't let the game intimidate you. Blackjack, also known as 21, is both easy and fun. And our dealers are always happy to assist. And the best part? Blackjack always pays 3 to 2. Next, check out the roulette tables. Roulette is one of the easiest casino games to learn, and so much fun to play. It's a favorite of both beginners and seasoned players. In addition to blackjack and roulette, our casino pit features over 60 popular table games like Baccarat, Pai Gow Poker, 3-Card Poker, Ultimate Texas Hold'em, and Mississippi Stud. So get out of your room and come join in the fun.
Hey folks, welcome to Sports by the Book here on a Friday edition. I'm working from home remotely, not in the studio today, but very excited about the sporting world. The NBA right now, I think, is a great league for us sports bettors right now. So many players worth so many points to the betting line that are in and out every day, and that makes it great for the sports betting side. Any type of change is good for us. So looking forward to that. Hope you had a great Halloween. I was dressed up yesterday. Too bad I wasn't at the South Point. I had my vampire costume on. Amazing stuff nowadays. The teeth were a little real. I was handing out candy last night. Everybody thought it was a great costume. So I had a lot of fun. I hope you had a lot of fun. And then breakfast this morning was Reese's peanut butter cups. You know, it's nothing better than that, having Reese's for breakfast. So maybe tomorrow will be a Snickers bar. I'm enjoying it. I hope you did too. College football last night, Tulane got there. It was a game that I had mentioned on my podcast. Looked like a just complete coaching mismatch. Biff Poggi, the head coach of Charlotte, was never an offensive coordinator. 2 years he spent at Michigan as a consultant to Jim Harbaugh, and he got the Charlotte job without ever being a coordinator, without ever being a coach, basically, at any not even a position coach. He's been very overwhelmed. He was predicted, their talent last year at Charlotte, they were predicted to win the conference, and they went 2-6. So he went from supposedly having the best team to having the worst team in the conference and struggling now in the American this year. So big win last night. There's the final score, Tulane 34-3. That spread closed 15 and 55.5. So I have a lot of football for you today. We have 3 games tonight as well that I can, at the end, I'll just make a brief, a little bit on those 3 games tonight. But I got a lot of the big games for you, information and plays that I have in those games. Let's start with the NBA, though. Again, a league that, there's been a lot of, players in this league now that they want to pace themselves for the playoffs. Joel Embiid said it. I am only worried about one thing, is that's being ready for the playoffs. So load management is the real deal. It's a shame that you could buy a ticket to the 76er game and Joel Embiid may not play, and you want to be there to see him play. So in this day and age, you kind of got to make sure who's playing and who's not. It's bigger than ever now. Boston tonight takes on Charlotte. Charlotte has some injuries. Their center Williams is out. He's worth 2 points to them. Not a very good basketball team in the first place, but Brandon Miller, a guard, is questionable tonight. I have his number in. I have a 15-point difference between these two teams. And Porzingis is out for Boston, who's a 2-point player. So they would be a 111.5 rating for me, number one in the NBA. But without Porzingis, without Williams for the Hornets, a 15-point favorite. I do take off 20% off that number. I made this game 11.5. Must have given maybe a half a point for home for Charlotte. Not much. When the visitor's that much better of a basketball team, you really can't give much in that way. The Celtics did lose their last game. That was at Indiana, and that was a revenge factor game that we had. Finally got a winner on punchlines, and I'm doing my dog pick of the day at the end of each show on punchlines. So you can get punchlines every day at 12 o'clock. And I'll run down the great shows from the South Point studios for you sometime this morning. The Boston Celtics total, I have 223.5. This opened 233 and has been bet down a little bit here. Look at the South Point numbers, 233 down to 232. And again, the side Boston minus 11. So I do have a play on the under in this game. Celtics still one of the best defenses in the NBA. Charlotte Hornets offense has been struggling. They are below average. And my cross-reference score may be a little bit higher, but again, the pace isn't going to be exactly high here. I would say average pace is about 100. The pace of this game would be about a 99 possessions per team. So my numbers have the Celtics shutting down the Hornets offense, and that may be the better bet because, the Celtics can get hot at times and put up big numbers. A team total here for the Hornets under may be the better bet, and I'm going to say that number should be somewhere around 111, 110.5, and if you can get under that, I think that's a very good play. I have them scoring about 105 points tonight. 106 is actually my true number on that. 118-106 is my basketball score there. The Knicks are at the Pistons. New York, Tom Thibodeau, the head coach there, up against J.B. Bickerstaff now with Detroit. This one you're going to have to find out the information on Karl Anthony Towns. He is questionable for this game, and Towns is an above-average NBA player, about 3 points. But you always got to go to the backup and see how good the backup is. His backup is 2.5 points below average. So it's a 5.5-point difference if Karl Anthony Towns does not play tonight. Excuse me. This game opened up 6.5 at the South Point. Is currently 6.5. The total on this game right now at 217. And it opened 217.5. So a half a point to the under on this game. But again, Towns worth 5.5 points to the betting line. He is questionable. I only made the game 4.5 with Towns in. So if he doesn't play, you'll be seeing me jumping on the Pistons and taking the points here in this spot. Almost, a smart move for me to do right now would be to take the 6.5 anyway. I can always get off and probably lay the 6.5 to get off that game. But if news comes out before I see it, this number will crash. It will not move the complete 5.5 points that I have Towns worth. Usually numbers move about half the distance of my points. So this game will probably move to about 3.5 because there is that perception out there. And it's not really a perception. It's a real thing that other players will step up and play better. His backup will play better. The other players, the starters on the Knicks, will step up and play better because they know their star player is out of the game. So that does happen, but I'll be taking the 6.5 with Detroit if Towns does not play. I made the total 224, and as I said, it was bet down from 217.5 to down to 217. I would definitely adjust my total way down if Karl Anthony Towns did not play. He's a strong offensive player and about an average defensive player in the NBA. Both teams on a one-game winning streak. Both teams covered their last contest in a one-team ATS streak. Detroit has gone under their last two games. Orlando Magic at the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight. Jamal Mosley, head coach of Orlando. Kenny Atkinson at Cleveland. First year at Cleveland, is doing a really nice job. This team's playing good basketball for him, and they're playing great defense as well as they normally do, but their scoring is way up. Scoring efficiency for Cleveland, 124 points. second only in the league to the Boston Celtics at 124.9. And they just put it to the Lakers the other night. It's a team that's playing really good basketball. Orlando, Paolo Banchero is out. I thought he was worth more points than that. When I went in to dig and look, doesn't play a lot of defense, and his offensive efficiency numbers aren't great. He takes a lot of shots to score his points. And they've got a great backup in Jonathan Isaac for Banchero. So it's only a 1.5 drop off. Franz Wagner is their most important player for Orlando. I have him worth 4.5 points the betting line. And he's a great defensive player. And that's one big thing for me. If you play defense, you're a very, very important piece. So he is questionable, Wagner, tonight. And Banchero's out. My number is with a Banchero out number. I made Cleveland 10.5, 215.5. This game opened up 7.5 at the South Point. Is currently 7.5 right now. I have a play on Cleveland. And if Wagner doesn't play, I'm making this game 15. You'll see it go to 10. It will go to 10. Cleveland minus the 7.5 right now is a play for me on the Cavaliers because no Banchero. And it could be a bigger play. My total 215.5 is right there at 217.5 in the betting world. So no play on my total. Sacramento Kings tonight take on the Atlanta Hawks. Mike Brown with Sacramento's done a really nice job with this basketball team. Quinn Snyder, also a solid coach. Remember, he was with the Jazz, now in his third year with the Hawks, but they've got some injuries. Bogan Bogdanovic, their shooting guard, is a very, very valuable player. And if you see in the NBA, when the player like this, that's an all-around player, that's a great three-point shooter, is not in the lineup, he's so hard to replace. And I've got him worth 4 points. He is out tonight. DeAndre Hunter, also out tonight. He would have been maybe his backup and shifted over to guard. They got to put Hunter at power forward at times because they don't have enough talented players in the front court. So there's a 6-point drop-off for the Hawks rating tonight. I have the Sacramento Kings 15 points better than Atlanta. Took off my 20%. I made the game, the Sacramento Kings, 11 and 235. This game opened up 5.5 at the South Point, is up to 6. I love Sacramento tonight. They are a play for me. I think that they're a really good play with two of the better players on the Hawks out of the lineup tonight. Atlanta on a 3-game losing streak, and they've lost 5 straight by the spread. They've gone over 5 straight games, and that's a lack of defense. Their offensive efficiency, 113 a game, defense 119. And DeAndre Hunter is one of their better defensive players, will not be in the lineup tonight. So they're missing a lot of firepower with Bogdanovic and a lot of defense from Hunter. Sacramento Kings minus the 6. Lakers are at Toronto tonight. J.J. Redick in his first year with the Lakers. He's got a job to do there. They've lost 2 in a row now. And that loss to Cleveland the other night, they got beat up from start to finish on the road at Toronto. There are injuries for the Raptors, though. So the Lakers get a break here tonight. Quickly's been out. Emmanuel Quickly, he's been out of the lineup for Toronto for some time. He's worth 3.5 points to the betting line. It's already been taken out. Barnes is out, too, a 2.5-point player. Kelly Olynyk out, but not worth anything. They have enough backups for Olynyk at the power forward and center position. But between Scotty Barnes and Emmanuel Quickly, that's a 6-point drop-off to their power rating. I have the Lakers 11.5 points better. I made this game 9 on the Lakers side. At the South Point, Chris Andrews and team opened up the Lakers an 8-point favorite. They have been bet up to 9. The total's 228.5 opener at the South Point, bet up to 231.5. So a lot of money the over. I only made it 224. My performance rating, and it's not a performance rating. It's the team's offensive and defensive efficiency with their pace and how many points they should score does come out to 234. And the Lakers have played more overs this year than unders. Toronto has gone over their last 2 games. But without Barnes and Quickly in the lineup, I'm just not sure if they can get that to that number. The Lakers really have to be talking defense because Cleveland torched them the other night. So I think they'll play better defense. I lean to the under in this game. I made it 224.5. But again, I'm going to be betting against the steam in this game at the South Point, 228.5 up to 231.5. The South Point will be rooting for this game under, and I lean to it. The Chicago Bulls at the Brooklyn Nets tonight. Billy Donovan, Brooklyn's head coach 4 years. Jordy Fernandez, first-year head coach of Brooklyn. A couple of injuries in this game. The Chicago Bulls, Zach LaVine, with their guard tandem now, he's been moved to small forward position, and he's questionable tonight. He's worth a couple points to the betting line. Now, he was worth 4 or 5 points to the betting line a couple of years ago, but they brought in some talent with Chicago, and kind of he's still the number one option, but they've got a number 2 and number 3 option that are just as good. And Ayo DeSumo coming off the bench really helps that guard rotation. For the Brooklyn Nets, Claxton, their center, I have out. Simmons, the point guard, who, he's been in and out of the lineup now for a couple of years. I want to check Claxton for you. I think Claxton might be back. So I have him out. I'm going to have to make the adjustment there on him. He is not on the injury report. So I did have him out, add 2.5 points to that. I would make Brooklyn the favorite here. I had him 1 with Claxton back. I make him 3.5. This line at the South Point, they opened 2, was bet down to 1.5 towards the Bulls. I know there was a lot of love for Billy Donovan's team this year, but I like the way what I've seen so far to the Nets. They're not a great basketball team, obviously, by any shakes, but they are a team that can be very, very competitive. Both teams on winning streaks, ATS streaks. Chicago Bulls have covered their last 2, and the Nets have covered 3 in a row. So there you go. They have been very, very competitive. The offense-defense pace numbers say that the Nets by 1.5, total 230.5. And that's probably a good reason why this game has been bet up. The total at the South Point, South Point opened 226. It is 226. So it has not moved to the South Point, but downtown at the Circa, they opened this game 221.5 and were pounded up to 226.5. And again, that has a lot to do with their offensive and defensive performances this year. The Bulls, I feel more are a defensive team. Brooklyn, Jordy Fernandez made no bones about it. He wants to run and push the pace. So that's the Nets' game plan. Zach LaVine will be a very important factor in this basketball game scoring-wise because he's more offense than defense. And also Ben Simmons for the Nets. Make sure you check on him. Claxton back, being a rim protector for Brooklyn. Indiana Pacers at the Pelicans tonight. Injuries in this game for the Pelicans. Also, Miles Turner questionable for Indiana. And remember, Indiana comes off the win over the Celtics. That's a game that they were looking for, had circled on their calendar. They were swept in the playoffs by the Celtics, and they did get their revenge. So it could be a little bit of a letdown for them in this game. But the Pelicans playing shorthanded. Their point guard Murray is out, and now their shooting guard C.J. McCollum also out. McCollum worth 3 points. To the betting line, I have Indiana 7.5 points better than the Pelicans in this spot. My line, Indiana 4.5, 223.5. The South Point open 3.5, bet up to 4.5. There you see it on the screen. The Pacers, the favorite, right at my number. I only made the total 223.5. South Point opened 234.5 and has been bent down to the current number at 232.5. So I have a 9.5 point edge here, and the offense-defense numbers shake out to exactly where I'm at, even a point lower, 222.5. And a lot of it has to do with the lack of offensive efficiency for both teams. And when you lose a guy like C.J. McCollum, your point guard Murray is out. And Zion Williamson has not done a lot. His rebounding numbers are about the most that he could really write home about right now in his game. He's got to pick it up a little bit. So that is a play for me. I bet under in Indiana, New Orleans tonight, under the 232. Denver is at Minnesota. Michael Malone now 9 years. He's in a 10th year as the Nuggets head coach. Has won an NBA championship. Chris Finch in his 5th year at Minnesota. Both these guys, veteran NBA coaches now. No injuries to report for either side. All clear there. I have the Nuggets 1.5 points better than the Timberwolves. Probably would have this much higher, but this is a Nugget team that has not started well. I have them on a 4-game ATS losing streak. They did win their last couple of games. However, very much underachieving on the year. Minnesota, though, a 4-point favorite here, and a lot of that, I think, has to do with that underachievement by Denver. Again, my number, Minnesota, 2.5. My total, 224. The total at the South Point Open, 220, has been bet down a half a point to 219.5. So I have a slight lean to the over in this game. A lot of offensive firepower for both teams. I could see that getting over the total. But again, not a play for me, but a lean to the over. And the last game on the board tonight, Oklahoma City at Portland. Two teams really going in opposite directions. Portland's a really good basketball team. Boy, did I mess up that. Portland is not a good basketball team. Portland is a very poor basketball team. The Oklahoma City Thunder is a very, very good basketball team. They have the type of talent to challenge the Boston Celtics for the championship this year. This is a really good team. And I didn't know till this morning. I figured it out. They have two Jalen Williams that are both centers, but they spell their names differently. J-Alen is the starting center, Jalen Williams. Jalen, Jaylin, is a backup, and he is out. I thought for days it was Jalen Williams with J-A-L was out, and he's worth 4 points at the betting line, so I've adjusted that back. Couple of small injuries for Portland. Williams, their center, and Thibault, a forward. Both really good defensive players out. I have a 16.5-point difference between these two teams. NBA teams really don't care about winning by that many. You know, they get up by 20 and then they coast, and they play matador defense at the end of the game, and the other team makes a slight comeback, and you get the backdoor cover a lot of times in these games. So, again, taking my 20% off, I make the game 13.5 and 222.5 on the total. The offense, defense, and pace numbers say this is going to be a much lower scoring game than that, and that has a lot to do with the Thunder's defense. They are outstanding. This is a really good basketball team. As I alluded to, that they are right there with the Celtics. They are as talented as the Boston Celtics. So I think this could be the winner of the West. When you look at what Chet Holmgren has done, he has just been amazing. A great rim protector in the middle. And then Jalen Williams, outstanding scorer. He's from Santa Clara, another young guy, just 23 years old, but he plays very, very good defense. Dort, their small forward, another guy that's a defensive stalwart. At guard, Kason Wallace, outstanding defense. And then you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's the stud that, he's the scoring machine for this basketball team, and he also plays defense. So when you got 5 starters that all play defense, that is very, very solid. And again, not mine, it's just what the teams have done this year. Offense, defensive efficiency, and the pace of this game. It is going to be a game that it calculates to 214. So we'll have to take a look at that, maybe under in that basketball game. And that's been a lot of Oklahoma City because their defense, and rightfully so. They are maybe the best defensive team in the NBA. The numbers say they are right now, and it's not even close. They're allowing just 91.6 points per 100 possessions. No one else in the NBA is under 100, so not even close in that category. This could be a Portland Trailblazers under team total. Right now, my guesstimate at the book would be maybe about 106. Definitely, and I would go under that with that defense for Oklahoma City. So that's the NBA. It's been very, very good so far this year. And I'm going to jump to tonight's college games. And I did not have these games on a sheet, but I do have them on my matchup pages that I have all the numbers here. So we'll go over those real quick since we have 3 games tonight. I did make 2 plays tonight in those games, 2 small plays for me. Georgia State is at Connecticut, and this game is South Point Open, 7.5, has not moved. It is right there, 48.5 down to 48. Again, Connecticut, Jim Moore is their head coach. He's done a very nice job with this program up against Del McGee, who's in his first year at Georgia State. Georgia State throwing the ball quite a bit, 17th most passing team in the country, and playing at a pretty decent pace, up-tempo, 26.7. Connecticut running at 56% of the time. That is 44th best in the country, and they play fast. I'm surprised. Jim Moore Jr. is always a very conservative football coach in the NFL. Thought he would be more conservative here, but they're playing quick, 35th fastest pace in college football. I have a rushing advantage for Connecticut. I think 193 yards tonight to 134. Team rankings, Connecticut 99th best offense, Georgia State 110th best offense. On defense, here's the advantage the Huskies have. They're 76th in the country. Georgia State is 111. I have a 6.5 point difference in the game. Taking off my 20%, I make Connecticut 8.5. And again, South Point at 7.5. So a slight lean to Connecticut in the game. My total 46 is right there at the total. A small lean to the under. But again, with both these teams liking to play fast, I may pass on that. My good friend Micah Roberts giving me a call. I'll call Micah back after the show. I guess he's not watching Sports by the Book, so I got to get on him for that. So, Micah, start watching Sports by the Book. South Florida is at Florida Atlantic tonight. Two coaches in their second year, Alec Gulch for South Florida and Tom Herman for Florida Atlantic. There were some injury concerns for Florida Atlantic. Their quarterback, Cam Fancher, will play, and I think that's a reason why the line has come down a little bit. But there has been some money this morning at the South Point for South Florida. This game opened 2.5 for the Bulls, and it's up to 3. Again, this is a state rivalry game in Boca Raton. It's going to be very windy there tonight. 15 to 20 mile an hour wind, sideline to sideline. My total 50.5. I take off a touchdown for that, and I'd make it 43.5. There could be some value out there if you find a 48 to go under still. Open 54.5 at the Circa downtown, 53 at the South Point. Again, that wind will hamper play in this game. I made South Florida 5.5 though in the game. You can lay 2.5. I like South Florida. They've got revenge. That's built into my number. But they got beat up pretty bad last year. I think it was 56-17. So I think the Bulls will be very, very ready for that contest. And the third game tonight, San Diego State at Boise State. Sean Lewis, the head coach at San Diego State, I like a lot. I like this guy. He was at Kent State, 4 years there, really tough spot with a lack of talent. Since he's gone, they have dropped to the weakest team in college football. Deion Sanders, when he got the job at Colorado, I think the first call he made was to Sean Lewis and said, hey, want you to be my offensive coordinator. Lewis lasted 1 year, and San Diego State saw what was going on there offensively, signed him to be their new head coach, and I think he's going to do an outstanding job there. Normally, I would think he was a run-heavy coach, but he likes to play an up-tempo, fast-paced offense. 54% run is 67th in the country. And again, their pace, 24.7 seconds, 21st. So they like to play fast. We know what Boise wants to do. Give it to Ashton Genty. He is the best running back in the country. They're coming off a big win, Boise versus UNLV, a team they played for the Mountain West Conference Championship last year, and a team that they knew if they didn't beat, or a team that could beat them. They did play their hearts out in a tough win, tough loss for UNLV, a big win for Boise State in their last game. So this could be a letdown situation, and Boise did beat San Diego State last year. So there is revenge there. I made the game 22 for Boise State. That number at the South Point opened 24, bet down to 23.5. No real value for me in that game, and I couldn't even say it's a lean because there's no value in between those numbers. I made the total 50.5 though. Open 56, bet down to 56, bet up a half a point to 56.5. So I like it under. Small play for me on the under. So 2 plays for me tonight, college football. South Florida, minus the 2.5, and then San Diego State, Boise State, under the 56.5. Boise State, wants to run the football. San Diego State knows that. They have to make adjustments. I'm hoping for a little bit of a letdown from Boise and hoping they're not quite as prepared. I don't need it. My number says that even if they played their A game, it still should only be 50.5. So I'll take it, though, if they have a letdown offensively. TCU and Baylor. This will be a fun game to watch on Saturday. Sonny Dykes, the head coach for TCU, is an offensive guru, loves up-tempo football. They're the 17th fastest team in the country, and they're playing the Baylor Bears. And they've had some success against the Bears. They beat them last year 42-17, and the year before that 29-28. So both games, 59 points and 57 points. I think we could have two more explosive offensive teams than what we've seen the last 2 years. Dave Aranda for Baylor was the LSU defensive coordinator, and he is a conservative coach by nature, and they run it 55% of the time. It's not a huge number, 59th in the country, so they're basically average, kind of well-balanced offense, but they are playing fast, Baylor is. 24 seconds in between plays, 11th fastest team in the country, and again, TCU, 17th fastest team. I think you're going to see a lot of plays in this game. Josh Hoover has won the starting quarterback job at TCU over Ken Seals, and he's been good. 66% completions, 8.5 yards a pass, 19 TDs, 8 interceptions. TCU's median score this year, 35 points. They allow 28.3. That's 63.5. Baylor on the other side. DeQuan Finn transferred in from Toledo. He was the MAC Player of the Year. Struggled a little bit, then had some injuries. Sawyer Robertson has taken over and stolen that starting job. He's a dual threat, 8.1 yards a pass, 17 touchdown passes, just 4 INTs, and he's the third leading rusher on the team, 229 yards. This offense has really come alive offensively. Their last 6 games, I'm drinking real quick, drink a cup of coffee. And don't worry, it's my 3rd cup today, but 2 have been decaf. I know you're keeping up with that. And you were probably betting. It was 1.5 to the over cups of regular coffee. But it's under. It's still under. Air Force, 31 points. Against Air Force, they scored 31. Against Colorado, 31. Against BYU, 28. 21 against Iowa State, who's got a tremendous defense. But the last 2 games, against Texas Tech, Baylor scored 59, and they put up 38 against Oklahoma State last week. On the year, median score 31. Now the defense, the last 5 weeks, this Baylor defense has allowed 38, 34, 43, 35, and 28. And that should not have been 28 in the last game. Oklahoma State's star running back Ollie Gordon fumbled on the 1-yard line. That should have been 35. He'll never fumble on the 1-yard line. A big guy like that and his strength, very rarely will that ever happen. It was just probably the perfect punch-out for Baylor, and they won the football game. But that was big for them. So they got momentum. They're 5-0 over their last 5 games. TCU 4-2 to the over their last 6 games. I made this total 67, and I know it was a game that was bet down early in the week. 69.5 down to 64 at the Circa, 64.5 down to 63 at the South Point. I like it over. I think these teams go back and forth, and they both score in the 30s. One of them may score 40. So this will be a great game to watch, fun game to watch. Both teams up-tempo, moving the football fast, and they both trending to the over. Again, Baylor, 5 straight overs because that defense – a defense, if you use every game, the median allowed is 31 points a game. But if you just use the last 5 games and current form for this team, they allow 35. And now they're up against TCU, who has Josh Hoover, who's thrown 19 touchdown passes this year, and a coach in Sonny Dykes that likes to play fast and up-tempo, and who has over trends in his favor already. Hey, the biggest game of the day on Saturday, Ohio State and Penn State. This should be a great game. I'm going to go through these real quick, folks, because it is already 9:32. And let me mention all the great shows at the South Point Studio, Sports by the Book. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, you can catch Alex White and I in studio, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Alex and Jeff Parles will take you up to the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Saturday at 8 a.m., Sunday back at the normal time of 9. Both those days takes you right up to the kickoff of the early games. And then you also have Football Frenzy in the afternoons. Check those times at the South Point Studio page on YouTube. But you get Chris, Vinny, and Jimmy on those shows. Thursday, actually, I know the times. I got them right here. On Monday, 3 o'clock to 4. Thursday, 3 to 4. And Friday, today, a 2-hour special, 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. That's Chris Andrews, Vinny Magliulo, and Jimmy Vaccaro. Also, race day, Wednesdays to Sunday, 7 a.m. Ralph Sirocco does a great job with the horses there. And then punchlines every day, Monday to Friday. Not every day, just during the weekdays. Monday to Friday at 12, you can catch Frank Nicotero on punchlines. And then Gone Racing every Thursday for the NASCAR folks. We've got everything covered under the sun for you here at the South Point Studios. Ohio State, Penn State. Going to have to really check the injury information with Drew Aller for Penn State. I think he's going to be it's a game time decision for Aller because of an injury, and it could be a big thing. It's a knee injury. I think he's going to play because this is such a big game against Ohio State, and they know James Franklin's 1-9 against the Buckeyes. This is their shot. They have their best team yet. I think they could win this game with Aller in the lineup. I'll make Penn State the favorite here, and I'll be on the Nittany Lions plus the points if Aller plays. Wisconsin's at Iowa. Luke Fickell against Kirk Ferentz. This will be a really good football game. Big Ten game that both teams have a 5-3 record. They're both looking for that 6th win to become bowl eligible. Brandon Sullivan came in last week for Iowa in relief of Cade McNamara, who's having a tough year for Iowa. I think he's a much, much better quarterback than what we've seen. But Sullivan played very well. He's a dual threat quarterback. Wisconsin, their defense gave up a lot of yards last week to Penn State's backup quarterback, who's also a dual threat guy. So that might be an advantage that the Hawkeyes have that we don't know about, that's not built into the line yet. And that's why I like Iowa in this game. I think they have the far better offense. The defenses are about even, but I do have Iowa rated higher. Strong home field and a head coach that covers spreads in Kirk Ferentz, 85-66. And he's 3-2 this year at home covering spread, 60%. So laying the 3 at the South Point with the Iowa Hawkeyes. That total now up to 42, was 40.5 early in the week. I agree with the line move to the over. Arizona at Central Florida. If you like change like I do, when people are fired, we know everyone else in the company steps up and works much, much harder to get their job done because they don't want to be next. Ted Roof, the defensive coordinator, was fired at Central Florida. Gus Malzahn basically fired himself of play calling. He hands it over to offensive coordinator Tim Harris. That could lead for more points. I think it will. KJ Jefferson struggled with Gus Malzahn calling the plays. Ja'Cory Brown also struggled, and Dylan Risk, a freshman, has been into the mix. I would love to see KJ Jefferson back at quarterback this week, but Ja'Cory Brown, a solid QB as well. Noah Fafita for Arizona, a star quarterback himself. And the Arizona defense has been rather suspect the last 4 weeks. They've allowed 28, 41, 34, and 31. So we could be seeing some points there. And Ted Roof was fired at Central Florida because the Central Florida Knights defense has not been very good. In the last 6 games, they allowed 34, 48, 24, just 19 to Cincinnati, but 38 and 37. So 4 of their last 6 games, they have allowed 34 or more points per game. They're 6-2 to the over. Central Florida is. I like it over the total. Arizona State and Oklahoma State. Kenny Dillingham versus Mike Gundy. Gundy, an 18-year streak of making a bowl game. That is in danger. He is 3-5. His team played their hearts out the last 2 weeks. They should have beaten BYU, and they definitely should have beaten Baylor, fumbling at the 1-yard line. This game, Arizona State, a 4-point favorite in this game. Their quarterback, Sam Levitt, is back. There was question marks on him whether he would play. He is playing, and I think that's the reason why this line has gone up. Ollie Gordon was also questionable for Oklahoma State. I think he's playing it in the lineup. I make Oak State the favorite here. The look-ahead lines for this early in the year had to be Oklahoma State around 10, we're getting +4 here. So buying low on the Cowboys, who still have a chance to get that bowl bid, but they need to get this win badly. Indiana State and Michigan State, two really good football coaches, two brand new to their programs. Indiana, Kurt Ciganetti came over from James Madison, and Michigan State's Jonathan Smith came over for Oregon State. And again, I've talked about hiring coaches in college football or almost any sport. I would want to make sure that coach has been at his program through a complete recruiting cycle so I can make sure that he's the guy that recruited those players. He's the guy that taught the fundamentals to those players, and he's the guy that got those players to buy into what he was selling. Ciganetti was at James Madison for 5 years, went 52-9. Jonathan Smith was at Oregon State for 6 years in a program that was awful when he got there, but he turned them around the last couple of years, and he got that coaching job. He's a Chris Peterson protege. He was under Peterson for 16 years, 4 at Boise and 12 at Washington. Jonathan Smith knows what he is doing, and he's another offensive guru. His quarterback, Aiden Childs, who was an Oregon State transfer, turned the ball over a ton the first couple of games of the year. But the last 3 weeks, only 1 interception against Oregon, Iowa, and Michigan State. Indiana at 8-0 has the pressure on them to keep that going, and they got a W last week without their starting quarterback, Curtis Rourke. If they exhale here, this could be a game that they falter in. I like Michigan State plus the points. So there you have it, folks. Again, turning to Punchlines today at noon with Frank Nicotero. And then tomorrow morning, Jeff Parles and Alex White will take you at 8 a.m. to 9, right up to kickoff of the early games. I want to wish you a great Friday today. Best of luck to you, and I'll see you back here on Monday with Alex White on Sports by the Book. Have a great day, folks.